Hey everybody, it's Matt. I am going to try and do these Instagram lives mostly on Sunday. The point of doing this is called Sober Friends Brunch. The idea was for me to do this at 10 a.m. and the reason I didn't do this at 10 a.m. is because I was still asleep. Yes, I'm under the influence of amoxicillin and Symbicort. I have a 2-month sinus infection. So what I wanted to do here is check in maybe once a week, see how everybody's doing. It gives you an opportunity to ask me some questions about sobriety. I can go over a topic if you're not going to jump in. Topic number one, if you see your favorite podcaster using a Blue Yeti and they're using the Blue Yeti like this, they're doing it wrong, and you should tell them in their comments every single time, take that Blue Yeti and turn it like this and talk into the side of it, because they look like a loser. Second of all, I'm doing this because my friend Jill Teets, Jill with a G, has told me you got to do an Instagram live every single week on a regular basis. It's going to help you build your podcast. You know when she told me that? On the podcast that's going to drop on Tuesday at 7 a.m. The whole idea of doing this podcast this week was to talk about her community called A Sober Powered Life, which is one of those communities to help people get sober that's outside of AA. Although my name is Matt and I'm an alcoholic and I'm a member of a 12-step group, I am genuinely curious about the other ways that people get sober. There are a lot of Patreon type programs, for lack of a better term, these subscription programs where you can spend, I don't know, in between $20 and $40 a month, and you get into a community where you have some type of program in place that you can work at your own pace. I would say Recovery RE is the most common of these, but Jill Teets at soberpowered.com has her own community that you have the ability to pay for, and I wanted to talk to her about it on the podcast. Again, just out of genuine curiosity. And the podcast went off the rails where we talked about how you make money in podcasting, what it's like to start a podcast. Why would you want to spend all your time doing this and for the most part not making any money? Why you might be insane for doing so. So we talked a little bit about that, and then I spent some time coaching her in how to do, coaching her in terms of be nicer to yourself. Be a lot nicer to yourself than you are, because she's a very successful person. So I learned from George Hahn, if you're going to do an Instagram live, before you just sit there and stare at the screen and wait for questions in case nobody comes on, have something to talk about, and that's the thing I was prepared to talk about. So if you're in the chat here and you want to ask me any questions, please be sure to do so. We can talk a little bit about getting sober, what it's like in a 12-step community, what it's like to podcast. What is it that you'd want to know about getting sober if you're sober curious and you have concerns about sobriety, or, do I have a problem? Do I not have a problem? This would be one of those places to do it. I plan on creating a YouTube channel. When we have these conversations, I'm going to download these, put it on the YouTube channel where you can go to it every time. The idea is we're going to do this every Saturday. I'm thinking either 3 o'clock or 10 a.m. if I can get my ass out of bed and we can have a conversation. So that's the idea of what's doing this. Would have done it, again, not feeling well, have a nasty sinus infection. So one of the things in recovery that's worth doing is taking care of you. How do you take care of yourself in recovery? Are you not taking care of yourself? What are the things that you need to do? Have you not gone to a doctor for a while? You've quit drinking, and now that you've quit drinking, you're afraid what your doctor's going to tell you about your own health. Hey, that's okay. If you have fears about that type of stuff, I would recommend that you not have fears about that type of stuff, because didn't you get sober for a reason? That you wanted to do something a little bit better for your life? And if you find out you have damaged yourself in some way, wouldn't you want to know how to take care of it? So that's the type of stuff we're going to talk about. Consider this kind of a preview. I want to share something with you. I started reading this book. I'm a big Queen fan, big fan of Freddie Mercury. This is Somebody to Love, The Life, Death, and Legacy of Freddie Mercury. It was not what I expected. It's a lot about his struggle with his sexuality, but also a lot about the early history of AIDS, which I found to be absolutely fascinating. So that's the non-sober stuff I'm doing. Doing a lot with the podcast. Love to hear your feedback on the podcast itself. What do you like? What could we do differently? If we're going to do some interaction with the audience, what is the stuff that you would want to hear? All right, with that, off to the rest of my Sunday. Bye, everybody. See you soon.